Welcome everyone to the event Have a Cuppa with your AUSA representatives. We're just going to give it about 1 more minute so that everybody can make it, and then we're going to get started. So welcome everyone to the Have a Cuppa with your AUSA representatives. Andre. Let's just get started. So today we're going to be chatting about who we are as AUSA and what you can do with us. You'll get to meet some of our sabbatical officers, me included, and you're going to get to learn about different representative structures that work within AUSA and the university and how to get involved with all of our activities, including some societies in sports and things like that. And afterwards, you get to ask us any questions that you might have. So first, I'm going to talk about who is AUSA. So AUSA is the Aberdeen University Student Association. So we're independent student-led organization that supports and represents your views to the university, and we try to improve your student experience overall. So we have many different activities that are all led by students, and they're supported by our AUSA staff and our sabbatical officers. So we're committed to supporting your voices and making them heard for the university so that we can improve what we already do. And if needed, we can give you a platform so you can voice your concerns on either a local or national level as well. And we want to make the best use of your time while you're with us. So we're always improving and changing what we offer so that we best suit your needs. So today, who's going to be joining us is myself. So my name is Andre, our student president Cecilia, our vice president for communities Radine, and our representative service manager Scott. So if you want to have any look at what we do to get any news from us, see opportunities that we can provide, go to our website or our social media. So we have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and just follow us there. If you want to follow any of the sabbatical officers, you can go to the AUSA website, and there's going to be links on what you can find to Facebook pages and our email addresses as well. So make sure you have a look. So today we're going to be talking about how we're structured as the student association. So we have different representative structures, and these include sabbatical officers, student council, committees, liberation and section forum, class reps, the rector, and our staff members. So we're going to talk about each of those in a bit more detail. So I'm going to cover the first one, which is the sabbatical officers. So the sabbatical officers, so there's 5 of us. We get elected in March for the upcoming academic year. And this year we have Cecilia Wallbach, who's the student president, Radine, who is the VP for communities, Ayla, who's the VP for sports, myself, Andre, who's VP for education, and Louise, who's the VP for welfare. So I'm going to talk about my role a little bit. So my main area of focus is the representation on any academic issues that any students might have, either at a local level, within the university, or nationally. So I lead our work on enhancement within the institution so that we achieve the best that we can, so we don't just meet the minimum standards. I help to coordinate our school conveners, which oversee every single school, and the elections for them are actually on right now. So if you want to be one, you should go for it. And those ones oversee class reps, so I help them with that as well. As part of my remit, I chair both of the AUSA education committees, and both of them are part of the council, which we'll talk about later. And I support one of our forums, which is the postgraduate forum. Um, Other than that, I also support any departmental society. So for example, economics and business society, that kind of thing that ties into the academic structures. I would be there to support you with that. With the help of my conveners, I also represent your views at the University Senate. So that is the main sort of decision-making structure within the university. And that is something that you could always be part of if you want to stand in the election for them. So that is most of my remit. So I'm going to hand off to our VP for Communities, Radine. So Rad.
Yeah, so my name is Rad. I'm the Vice President for Communities, like Andre said. I am essentially the main representative for matters that focus on the local and student community. So I support students involving sustainability, environmental, transport, and liberation campaigns. I'm also the main representative for students who are involved with societies, RAG, and student groups. And also as part of this role, I chair two committees, which is the Communities Committee and the Environments and Ethics Committee, which are two of the committees that will be spoken about. And I also am supporting the Liberation Forums, which we'll also talk about a bit later. And so I co-chair the Equity Forum with our student president, Cecilia. And I'm also going to be talking about Louise's role as Vice President for Welfare. And so they're in charge of matters involving well-being, mental health, sexual health, student safety, and housing issues. And in order to ensure that everyone's performing at their best academically. Louise is also in charge of the Welfare Committee and also helps out supporting the Liberation and Section Forums. And so Louise is also in charge of a lot of the campaigns involving welfare issues on campus.
Hello, so this is actually my second year as student president. So as Raz already mentioned, my name's Celia, and to be quite honest, my remit is kind of big. So if you want to read the full remit, you can head over to the AUSA webpage. But I just put out like some quick bullet points relating to representation. So my role is very much being the main student representative at the university. So I'm often like the first port of call for a lot of students who don't know where to go, and then I just forward them to, a staff member or a different sabbatical because I don't do everything, but often people come to me because they don't know who to go to. I also, democracy is part of my remit, so I do a lot of things with student council and interpreting bylaws and making sure that, AUSA is democratic and that we properly represent the student view and do what you want us to do, essentially. I also support the Forster Hill Committee, which is made up of students based at Forster Hill mostly. The Qatar Committee, who is of course made up of students in the Doha campus in Qatar, and I also support the section forums, which means that I co-share the equity forum together with Rad, as Rad already mentioned. I'm also the connection with NUS, which means that I'm an ex officio delegate to the different NUS conferences. If you're interested in NUS, please get in touch. We're also currently in the election, going to be electing our other NUS conference delegates who will be joining these conferences with us. So do get in touch if you're interested in that. About Student Council, so I was actually part of Student Council before I became a sabbatical. So my first year in Student Council, I was part of the Communities Committee that is now being chaired by Rad, as you mentioned, and then I joined the Societies Union Committee my last year of uni, and now I'm just part of Council as a student president. And I'm also going to be presenting about Isla, because Isla is signed up at the moment, and Isla is the vice president for sport. So until Isla is back at work, I am going to be covering sport representation as the main protocol for sport, but the whole SAB team does it together depending on what the issue is. So what Isla does, she's the main representative for physical activities and sporting issues at the university, locally and nationally. She chairs the sport committee, and she represents, sport clubs within BUCS, which is British Universities and College Sport, and SSS, which is Scottish Student Sports, I think is what it stands for, and a few other things. And just like with all of the sabbaticals, Isla is on Student Council, and he's basically here to make sure that the best sporting experience and activities experience within the university. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the structures that Andre's already mentioned. So we've got Student Council, which is made up of elected students. The election is actually open right now, so do nominate yourself and get involved. We need as many students to be part of this election. Oops, sorry, my cat joined there. I also want to make sure that we have like a very diverse set of students joining us, so we can have as much representation as possible. You can get involved by joining the different AUSA committees, which I'll mention in a moment. We also have the deliberative section forums, which Rad will be talking about, and then the class reps, Andre, will be talking about also. So Student Council, as I mentioned, it's made out of elected student volunteers. So it's a democratically elected body of students who volunteer the time to raise, discuss, and pass campaigns and motions to shape the work of the association for the year ahead. Essentially, what it does is you get to tell us what we should be focusing on and what we should be working on and what kind of campaigns that we should be involved with and fight for. And it's a great way to make sure that you have a say in the work that is being done, and also holding us to account, because as some of you might not be aware, as sabbatical officers, we're elected by the student body, which means that we were not hired by the association to do this work. We were hired by students, which means that we're held to account by you. So for each student council meeting, we submit work reports, and you get to quiz us on it and make sure that we're actually doing the work that you want us to be doing and not wasting our time on things that are not actually your priority. Why it's great to get involved? It's getting involved for many reasons I've already mentioned, making sure that your voice is heard. But it's also something where you learn a lot of skills like public speaking and being able to read things critically. But you can also get it on your enhanced transcripts. How to get involved? Well, as I mentioned many times by now, and I will continue mentioning it many times, you can get involved by joining the AUSA elections that's open right now, which you can do by heading to the AUSA webpage. Make sure you log into your account and nominate yourself. We have so many committees that you can choose from, and make sure you do this by the 1st of October. So the committees I mentioned, we got 9 committees. Your membership under these committees all decided on, via the election that's open right now. So we got the Thursday Hill Committee and the Guitar Committee, which I support. At the moment, I also support and chair the the Sports Union Committee until Isla is back. We have the Education Committee, which is and the Postgraduate Education Committee, which are all made up of conveners for different schools, and Andre heads that and chairs that committee, and they do a lot of work to enhance your experience academically. Louise chairs the Welfare Committee. If you got any questions right now while Louise is off, you should contact AUSA reps at abdn.ac.uk to know more about it. And then we also have Radine, who's already mentioned, but as you can see, he's got a lot of committees that he supports. So he supports the Societies Union Committee, the Raising and Giving Committee, the Communities Committee, and the Environment and Ethics Committee. So he's got a lot of work. So make sure that you do join those committees so that Rad is not the only one in the room of 12 chairs doing all the work. Perfect. And how to get involved. I've mentioned it already so many times, and I will continue to mention all the time. Do get involved with our election. That is how you get involved. And that's also how we can show the university that our students are engaged and that we are heading in the right direction. And, you know, when we go to meetings and tell the university, you know, you're doing this thing wrong, this is not what students want, and we have a full committees and full student council behind us, like that shows that, you know, we are focusing on the right priorities. That being said, if you don't want to actually be part of a committee and committing to that work, you can still get involved. You just won't be part of student council, you won't be officially on the committee, but you can still be involved with the work that they do. And you can attend all the meetings and see what's happening and make sure to like voice your opinion. It just wouldn't be the same as if you're officially on the committee. Okay, what's up next? And as I mentioned already, NUS, which is the National Union of Students, it is basically a collective of a bunch of associations around the UK, so not use Scotland, and working them on national campaigns. They help us, you know, with different national campaigns that we don't just have an impact on our university, but we can have an impact locally, nationally. And you might have heard about their work during the lockdown to make sure that students have like proper support while working and studying from home. In the second term, there's going to be a few conferences hosted by the NUS where we can voice what, you know, AUSA's priorities and students' Aberdeen priorities are to make sure that that's considered when these campaigns are formed. So do run in the election and nominate yourself for a delegate. Please do so. I beg you. Thank you.
So I'm going to be talking about the Liberation and Section forums. The AUSA currently has 5 Liberation forums and 4 Section forums, and these exist to promote the interests and organize events for students who are part of or identify with certain groups. So essentially they are representative structures, and they're student-led, and they comprise of the Women and Non-Binary Students Forum, the Disabled Students Forum, LGBTQ Students Forum, Black and Minority Ethnic Students Forum, Trans Student Forum, and then the section forums are the International Students Forum, part-time students, postgraduate, and then mature students. So I was actually a convener for the BME Students Forum before I became a sabbatical officer. And essentially you do a lot of work in order to promote the interests of the group that you identify with on campus, as well as organizing events. And each forum also holds 2 seats on student council, so you are acting as a representative essentially. But yeah, the forums also have a lot more flexibility, so to speak, or like freedom over what they do and how they operate compared to societies and student groups. So it's a very interesting structure and like quite fun to be involved in one if you're interested in joining. And so the way you can get involved with a forum is you don't actually need a membership. So a lot of these forums don't have memberships, primarily because of like safety. Some people do not want to. Some people we do not keep lists of people that are involved in forums. So instead, all you need to do is visit their pages on our website. As most of the committees have already been elected, but it's still great to get involved in them. And you can also get in touch with AUSA Reps at abdn.ac.uk, and also all the forums do have emails, so you can just check out their pages. But yeah, I urge everyone to get involved because it is a lot of fun.
So now I'm going to talk about a little bit about class reps. So class reps are essentially roles in all of your courses, potentially in your degree. So at the start of each year, you get elected new class reps, and these ones represent the views of that particular cohort in that class to their lectures, or they can raise it up further, and they're there to implement any positive changes within that semester. So some schools work slightly differently. So some schools elect them for a year, most elect them for just 1 semester. So there is, generally speaking, a second election going on in a second term, and you can run for it at any point. So as I said, they're there to represent your views to the academic staff, and they're there to attend some meetings, including the student staff liaison meetings, which happen roughly in the middle of each semester, and they have a conversation with the course coordinators and some main university representatives about what can be changed and what can work better. So there they sort of have that conversation and hopefully implement it within a shorter time frame. So as I said, to become a class rep, you would have to stand in the election. Those elections are done by your lecturers or course coordinators. So they're not AUSA-led elections. So to stand in those, you would just have to contact your course coordinator. They will likely be asking you to run for such a position within the first 3 weeks of your course anyway. So keep an eye out for that if you want to be a part of it. In terms of training, we do provide you training to be a good class rep. So we've updated some of our trainings. So there is an online training module that is available to you once you get elected. And we also offer more in a group Microsoft team kind of training for all of our class reps, so that we give them a feel of what it is like to be one and what kind of issues they might encounter and how to deal with them and all that sort of thing. And we guide them through what their position there is and how they can implement these changes and how they can be there to improve all of the experience of all of their class reps, classmates. So we also have AUSA staff teams. So we have two main representatives that support all of what we do in terms of representative structure. So one of them is our manager who's here, Scott Carl. And we also have one other position, which is the class rep coordinator, or AUSA rep coordinator, I should say. So that person would coordinate all of our rep structures. It's currently vacant, so I don't have a name for that person yet. So everything is currently handled by Scott, but they're there to support us and all of our classers with anything that they need, from advice to support. So if you have any concerns around anything, just give them an email and they'll be in touch. So later on this week, we have multiple other events. So later today, there's the Freshers Fair. So you can still register to it. It's right after this. So just register on the AUSA website. And then we have a similar Q&A session like this one later on in a week. So it's on Wednesday, it's the sports one. And on Thursday, we're all having our quizzes. So each of the sabbaticals will be hosting at least one quiz. So if you want to take part, then please do. All of that is on the AUSA website as well. So now we're going to get to the Q&A part of the session. So you should see the Q&A section on your right. Please feel free to ask any question. You can do so either with your name or anonymously, whatever you prefer. And please be patient. There's about 20 to 30-second delay, so we might actually not see your question right away. But we'll try to address it as soon as possible. And yeah, we'll be delegating the questions to different staff members. So it's not going to be just me answering them. So it's going to be all of the ones in here today. And if we don't know any of the answers, we would either let you know afterwards or we would try to sort it out before we do finish. So if anybody has any questions, then please feel free to shoot. And we're here to answer any of them. So I can take that question. So depending what kind of representative you would be looking for. So as Cecilia talked about, we have different committees, which are the representative structures of AUSA. So to be on any of those, you could go to the AUSA website and to the elections and just apply there. You can stand in nearly any of the positions. If you are having any problems that it says you're not eligible, but you believe you are, then just give us an email. It should be there attached. But to be a class rep, that would happen on your course basis. So your course coordinator, once you start your classes, he will be asking, you know, who wants to be a class rep. So you just put your name forward, and if there's multiple people who have interest, they should hold some sort of an election or probably some sort of poll that would be posted on My Aberdeen. So I hope that was helpful.
Hi, so I just wanted to mention, so I posted all of our Facebook accounts and pages into the chat so that you can follow us on Facebook or friend request us, and that's where you get updates on what we're doing, and it's an easy way to get in touch with us if there's something you want to talk about. Of course, you can always email us, but not everyone prefers that. I also noticed there's a question, is this a student induction? So this is hosted by AUSA. I think you're referring to student induction by the university, which I think Andre might correct me on this, but you should be checking your emails for that. This is just inductions to different aspects of AUSA. We also have a question from Nick about how can we get in touch with societies which don't have scheduled events during freshers. So if you head to the AUSA web page, we'll post a link into the chat in a moment. You can find a list of all of our societies, all of our sport clubs, all student groups, forums, campaigns, everything. And there you can find like their designated page, which they will, most of them will include, you know, an email or a link to an Instagram, a link to a Facebook. And that's one way that you can get in touch with them and chat about what they do. You can also find their joining fee there. So there's also, I just want to quickly, there's a question by Dimitris about how sport activities are going to be held this year, so training and matches and etc. So of course we have to make sure that everything follows government guidelines. I can't really go into too much detail about this because I'm like still learning about it myself, because the guideline changed about like a week or two ago, so we're having to adapt to that. But we are holding a sport Q&A session later this week. So you can join that and you should get all of these questions answered. Or you can send us an email and then I can like speak with the staff about how that's going to be working.
So I can answer the question about how much work is it to be a member of AUSA. Well, being a rep is really how much work you make of it. It's not, there isn't a set amount of work you need to do as a rep. I mean, there is to an extent, like you do have a seat on student council, which means you are representing student voices, but honestly, you can put as much effort as you want into the work that you do. It's not necessarily like you have to dedicate a certain number of hours to it. But also the question afterwards that was asked, so can I apply for the Star Award later, as for example class reps are elected a bit later, so the timing is right. I believe the Star Award you have to apply for in the first semester, but it has to be within the same academic year in which you apply, if I'm not mistaken. Don't know if anyone correct me on that, but yeah, it would be the same. It would just have to be the same academic year, but you would probably have to check into like the application deadlines, and I believe there are several deadlines. If Andre wants to chime in more detail.
Yeah, so when it comes to the Star Award, you do need to apply fairly early on for any recognized activity, and that is any committee member or class rep or like society or sports committee member. And I believe that's sort of roughly until the end of October. And then you'll have to attend some workshop and stuff like that. But we also have enhanced transcript that Cecilia briefly mentioned before, which is something very similar. And for that, if you're a class rep in a second semester, you can apply for it later on. So, but I also wanted to say that everybody is automatically member of AUSA. So just keep that in mind. And I wanted to address some of the other ones as well. So the first year students are allowed to nominate themselves in any of the election that we're currently hosting. So if you're a first year, feel free to put your name forward. For this particular election, you don't need any other people to back your nomination. In the past, you needed 10 sort of proposers for your nomination, but this year, given the circumstance, we have removed that barrier. So you can just freely put your name forward and see whether that is something that you would want to do. And essentially, there will be somebody running against you, run some sort of campaign online. That's sort of what we had to do to get elected. So, but if you have any questions about it, you can send us an email and we'll help you out with it. And if I can take the next one as well. So benefits of being a rep depends what kind of representative you are. So depending on different committees or class reps, they have different sort of advantages. The main advantage to any of them is that you can make difference and you can improve the lives of your fellow students and improve anything that maybe has been bothering you for a really long time. And it can gain you a set of skills that you perhaps didn't have and just make you a better person overall. So that would be my take on it. And I don't think it's very difficult. It's a new experience. So if you're not used to it, it might get a little bit of getting used to. But other than that, I think most people get into it rather quickly. So if you're thinking about going for it, you should give it a go. And if you don't like it, you're not going to run next year. That would be my advice. And I'm going to take a few more questions. So the class reps, as I previously mentioned, most schools will elect them for a course only. So they're there to represent that particular course. But some schools, particularly engineering, might do sort of a year degree sort of thing. So that one class rep, or they call them a year rep, represents all of the associated courses with that degree, and they're elected for a year. So those ones are a little bit more long term, but mostly it's for one semester and for that particular one course. And the next question is about, are undergraduates able to apply for student council? Yes, any student can apply for a student council position, whether you're undergraduate or postgraduate, or whether you're first year, whether you're here for your 5th year, anybody can take part.
Hello, sorry, I'm back now. We had a power cut because someone decided to eat toast, but that's fine. So there's a question about joining societies such as AUSA, which don't have memberships. How can you join? So it should go live at any moment. There's been a delay with some societies getting their membership fees up because we kind of closed them earlier this summer so that people could like revisit their fees. To take into account like limited activities that might happen this year, but also means that it's gotten a bit delayed in getting them back up. So you might see that some societies have their lives and some don't. Like, don't worry, just like give it an hour or give it a day and it should be back up again. Otherwise, you can just contact them on Facebook, let them know you're interested, but you haven't been able to buy the membership yet, and they'll know. Most people don't end up paying for their memberships until like the second week anyways. So I'm just gonna hop in because it's a question about the election. So you cannot apply for multiple positions. You can only go for one position. So if you want to join the welfare committee, you can only run for a welfare position. You cannot run for a welfare position and a school convener position. But you are, however, able to go for a council position and an NUS delegate position because they're two different things. So you can be an NUS delegate and run to be a delegate for the UK or Scotland conferences and still be able to run for example, a convener or welfare committee.
So I can answer the question that was asked about applying for a STAR award. If you have to be a class rep, no, you don't necessarily have to be a class rep. It can be any sort of representative. It can also involve any other student activities, such as societies, sports clubs, and student groups. And I can also answer the question below, which is the Sewing Society. Yep, it should still be up and running. You might want to check the individual page on the website or their Facebook page. And just to let you know, there is also going to be a societies Q&A that's happening tomorrow. So if you have any more questions about society specifically, we'll answer them tomorrow. Yeah.
You can also head over to the Freshers event happening right after this one and just see if you can find the Sewing Society. In the process, you might find other societies that you're interested in, but it's literally right after this event, so you can just like hop from here to that one and see what you find there. Because we mentioned like the Star Word a few times, it was actually something else I wanted to mention. So you'll hear more about this if you join our Opportunities in Volunteering event on Thursday, I believe it is. But actually being part of these committees, being a class rep, being NUS delegate, that actually counts as volunteering because you're volunteering your free time to, you know, improve and enhance, you know, situation and experience for everyone. It counts as volunteering. So you can actually sign up for the Saltire Awards, which is a basic recognition of volunteer time by the Scottish government, and you can actually get your volunteered hours recognized on like your CVs, or you get LinkedIn, you can put it there that you've done, you know, 500 hours of volunteering with Saltire, and you can just Google them and find out what that's more about, or get in touch with the SAB or staff, and they might be able to direct you. But if you join the society and then join a committee or whatever, like you would eventually get more information about that. But I just thought I'd let you know that, you know, you're not just getting it recognized or your enhanced transcript, but you can also, you know, like get your actual hours of volunteering recognized to show that, hey, I haven't just volunteered for this committee, I actually volunteered 50 hours to this committee. But that also applies to any volunteering that you do outside of AUSA. So there was two questions about if societies will be at the societies Q&A. They won't, but they will be at the Freshers event after this event. Instead, you'll have Rad and me there talking about societies, and you'll also have staff members from the activities team, and usually they have more information operational wise. That's why we're kind of referring you to, if you got questions for specific societies, you should attend the Freshers event. But if you got more like detailed questions, the event tomorrow will include staff that, you know, work with the societies, so they will be able to answer like much more details those questions about how they'll be able to run and things like that.
Since we're currently just waiting, I would encourage all of you, if you want to try something, you should give it a go, whether it's a representative function or whether it's being part of a sports or society. You should just give it a go so that you don't have any regrets. And if you have any questions about our representative structures and applying for any of the positions, then you can let me or Cecilia know, and we're more than happy to answer any questions about any of the position and what it entails. And if you need some help writing your manifesto or something like that, we're always here to help. So don't feel like you have to do this on your own. And there's also lots of support that we provide to any of our reps. So you don't ever have to feel like this is your sole responsibility. We're there to help you with anything. So yeah, I might just come in again a little bit. So over the years, we've had a lot of success with different various class reps and course reps and the school conveners. So there have been a lot of change as a result of what has happened. So the feedback is actually being listened to, and we're working more and more on it so that it can be more continuous, and so that you can see the change right away. I know that some courses have been completely redesigned, so some of them have been entirely scrapped and made into an entire new course as a result of class rep feedback. So that is something that can also sometimes happen. And the university in the end is there to provide you with the things that you want to learn. So if you don't like exactly what you're learning in some of the courses, there can always be an opportunity to change that in the future. I don't know whether somebody wants to answer the next question about the International Committee.
So about the International Committee, so I have to admit, I'm not quite sure exactly what you mean, because technically we have a few different varieties. So we have an International Society, which I think you would be able to find at the Freshers Fair after this event. I have to admit, I haven't looked at the complete attendance list yet. So you would be able to find the International Society, but earlier in the presentation, Rad mentioned the International Students Forum. They will not be at the Freshers Fair because at the moment it's inactive. Which means it was active last year, but then over the summer, the students couldn't continue on, which means that we're looking for a completely new committee. So if you're interested in being part of that, you can read a bit more about them on the webpage because they got their own page. They're also involved with the Society Union Committee when it comes to international societies. But it's essentially she's representing national students and their interests, make sure that we're focusing on that. But if you got any questions about it, you can email me at AUSA President or contact me on Facebook. But if it is the forum you're referring to, they won't be there because we're currently in the election trying to get people to join this committee, this forum. So if that's something you're interested in, you should definitely go for that so that we can have an international forum this year. So just because we talked a lot about the election and I mentioned it like 100 times already, and we have some questions about it. So if you're interested in it, but still kind of like, oh, I want to know more about it, or I don't quite know what kind of effort I have to put in, how much time is going to be, what I have to actually do. Andre and I are actually holding open sessions about it this week. So there'll be one tomorrow and then one on Friday. So you can ask questions about how to run. Do you have to write a manifesto? Do you have to upload a picture? If I'm part of the community, do I have to be involved with every single campaign that RAD wants to run? Basically, any questions you have, you can join us tomorrow or Friday, and we'll answer all these questions, and we can help you how to nominate yourself, because the nominations will be open until 1st of October, so we'll make sure that you can make an informed decision in time to actually be part. But as I mentioned earlier, also, you don't have to be elected to be involved. It just means that it will be different than if you're actually an elected member. Same as on student council, you can only really vote if you are an elected member. But of course, any student can attend or watch what's happening to make sure that I don't want anyone making decisions that you're not aware of or haven't had a chance to influence.
So we only have about 10 minutes left. So if you have any last minute questions, that let us know. If you want to have a conversation with us, we're going to be available throughout different times in Elphinstone Hall this week as well. So me personally, I'm going to be there, I believe, roughly 1 till 4. And I think Cecilia will be there for a little while as well. Is that correct? No? Or yeah, Cecilia will be there afterwards. So if you want to chat to us about something that we do, then feel free. There's also other services that are available there. So
So about the Elphinstone sessions that Andre mentioned, there'll be different times throughout the day there where I'll be there or Andre will be there or Brad will be there, and I'll see if we can get like a schedule published anywhere, even if it's just on our Facebook. So you can see if there's anyone you specifically want to be. But there'll be other staff members there at different points. If they get questions, you can eat. Yeah, and the second question I was going to ask was just answered by one of our staff members. So if you're talking about the open sessions for the elections, it's just been posted here that it'll be tomorrow at 2 to 3. And then on Friday, it'll be 3 to 4. If you're talking about the open sessions that I posted about, like right above, if you click the link, you'll see the times for all 5 of them this week. But I'm not conceited enough to think that you were talking about me. I think you were talking about the election.
So I'm gonna take the next question. So currently we're not doing any in-person events due to the current situation. So there's not gonna be any in-person events organized by either us or the university. We will want to come back to any in-person events once the government deems it to be safe. So if you'll keep an eye out on our social media, if we will have the opportunity to start in-person events, we will do so. But for now, your teaching at least is going to be partially in person, so you should have your timetable by now.
So I had a question here about why do a lot of the posts have no description on the election page? So I can't speak for every single position. Maybe Andre will be able to fill that in. But most of them, it's very much up to, like, if you run for position, it's very much to what your priorities are, and you'll be able to change what you want to do. In some cases, it could, to be quite honest, just be that we forgot to upload those, and you'll be able to find it in our bylaws, which is maybe not something that you'll know about if you're very new, of course. But a lot of them is just because it's kind of up to what your priorities are. So if you, for example, want to join the communities committee or any committee, and it just says like ordinary member, it means that, you know, it depends on what kind of campaigns you want to run, what your priorities are, and we're not trying to restrict you to having to do something specific. But on some others, I might just go up and have a look then, because I think some of those we might just have forgotten, and I'm sorry about that. But maybe Andre can fill in, because I think the convener ones I wouldn't be able to answer because I've never been one myself.
Yeah, so as Cecilia said, some of the ones are left a little bit blank because it's really up to you on what you want to do. There's particular committees, such as the one that I chair, which is the Education Committee, Postgraduate Education Committee, and then Sports and Societies Union. So these four, they have very prescribed functions in what they do in our structure. So those ones have quite a bit of responsibility, and you sort of need to meet those when you apply for the positions, because that sort of work essentially needs to be done. When it comes to some of the other committees, it's a little bit more up to you and what you want to do. So that's what your manifesto is about as well. What do you want to bring and what do you want to change? So
So there's a question here about how do we know when some of the sports societies open due to COVID? Is there a list of when they hope to open? So all of them are technically open. You'll still be able to interact with them, and they're going to be planning, you know, online activities and safe activities for people to do. If you're referring to like openness in like being able to have physical events and things like that, it will literally just be when the government guidelines allows for that to happen. And which, of course, when that happens, we will make sure that everyone knows that, okay, now you can do physical events. And I'm sure that societies and clubs will like instantly schedule something to meet with people, you know, face to face. But at the moment, like they're all open, they're all active. It just means that they're active online. So you can already join them and make friends, and with them we'll just have to wait until it's actually safe for everyone to meet face to face. But as soon as that happens, you know, all the societies and clubs and groups will be notified, and they're probably going to tell you then, like, oh, we got amazing events planned. Yeah. I also posted in the chat, because we got about 3 minutes left, so I thought I'd use the post a link to the election open sessions tomorrow. And make sure that you, if you're interested in attending, make sure that you go onto that event and then click going or interested, so you can get a notification when we post the link to join Teams meetings, because it's not going to be a live event like we're doing here, which we got, you know, like a screen presenting in, and we use like answering questions. It's going to be more interactive as like as a meeting where, you know, if you want to have your camera on, we can see you and you'll be able to see us, and like we can just speak, you know, face to face, but of course through the screen, and have more of a conversation. So we'll be posting the link to that meeting tomorrow before the event, so make sure that you like keep an eye on it so that you can join, because you won't get an email with a link or anything like that. You'll have to go to the event to click on the link. And also, like I mentioned, now we got 2 minutes left. So if you got any question, get your last questions in, or if you've already headed to the freshers event, totally understand.
So thank you so much, everyone, for sending in your questions. We really appreciate you guys wanting to know more about our representative team and how you can get involved. As always, you can contact all of us through our emails or through our own pages. So you can contact me at AUSA at abd.ac.uk. You can contact Andre. AUSA Education at abdn.ac.uk, and you can contact Cecilia with AUSA President at abdn.ac.uk. If you want to learn more about any of the other, like about the representative services, you can contact AUSA Reps at abdn.ac.uk. And Cecilia will also be having a like brunch session in about half an hour if you want to like ask any more questions. Otherwise, please enjoy today's freshers fair. I know it's online, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and there should be a lot of societies and clubs there. So thank you so much for joining us again.